5 good minutes in the clubhouse.
As we teased last week, Malcolm, we've got a very special guest today, the famous number 8 from the Norwood Football Club, Michael Aish.
Welcome aboard, Aish.
Yes, gentlemen. Lovely to have a chat to you guys.
Mate, Norwood captain, 87, 89, premierships in 82, 84, best and fairest, McGarry medals. You've done it all in this NFL, mate.
Yeah, look, I was pretty lucky, to be honest with you, Pete. It, to be able to get to Norwood at 79 and straight out of school and come into a side that obviously just won the flag the year before, and they we had a pretty actually disappointing year in 79, and I'm sure Wally Miller classes that team as one of the best teams they've put together. But
yeah, Wally does. Wally class 79 is the biggest disappointment. He does have our 79 side as our best ever side, Michael.
Yeah, so that was a little bit disappointing, and obviously being the first year and that you're sort of, really not quite. Well, you're adjusted to the game as such, but not to the, the level of, hey, how good's this side and how one, slipped away.
Yeah, actually, let's go on. I found the 1980 grand final night as a really interesting, fascinating night where the younger guys were sort of excited. We'd come from the elimination final. It had been a great game. And then you had Kingo blaming himself. Kingo's played one of the great individual games. Russell Ebert readily admits that was the biggest pants down job he received in his career. And yet Kingo blamed himself for the handball Kim Kinnear intercepted in the last quarter. And that, with the younger guys that night were going, geez, that was how good was that? And we're building for the future. Did you feel that way yourself?
Not at all, Malcolm. I don't think I was actually, still coming to terms with, what it's all about, from a point of view of, your second you're in, you're still raw as, and you don't really contemplate what it's all about. You're playing the game because it's something that you love. Now, I'm not saying that the rest of the people aren't playing it because they're playing it there, but well, for me, I only really got to, I guess, appreciate what it meant after playing probably about 4 or 5 years, and then thinking, well, man, these grand finals don't come around that often, and when you get an opportunity, you want to take it. And I was speaking to Keith Thomas, I think last week, and we were fortunate enough to play in our first 5 years. I think we played in three grand finals, and then from there on in, she was pretty sparse.
Just going back a little bit there, you obviously debuted in 79, and do you classify the first season as a bit of a blur?
Not really. It was exciting. You're a year out of school. You're out at pre-season. I remember going to the grand final in 78 and standing behind the goals with some mates from school, or not from, that I went to primary school with.
Was that with Alan Killigrew?
I know. I went actually. Alan Killigrew took my brother and myself to the first semi against Sturt. After I ended up, lobbing out at West Torrens and having a few training runs.
Disgraceful behaviour, Michael.
Mike Coward wrote
Yes.
about it, and then Wally rings Dad, and then they take us to the footy, and so that was the first semi, and then went to the grand final with some mates and stood behind the Southern goals, and then to see that win and went home and went with the whole family out to the Norwood Footy Club and couldn't get near the place, and then 6 weeks later you're out there, training with these guys. It was surreal.
Did I hear somewhere along the line that you basically weren't in the Norwood zone as a junior?
No, that's correct. Yep. I was in the West. I was in the West Torrens district as a from where we lived, but I was the primary school was in West Adelaide, so we played a lot of mini league for West Adelaide and had there was a lot of league players played a lot of mini league in that era. So in the 70s, and we were quite successful at West Adelaide, and a lot of them went on to play league footy at West Adelaide as well.
And Peter Myers would shoot me if I didn't give the fellow scoreboard operator at the parade a mention that he played with you in that in those West Adelaide Premiership sides too, Aish.
He did.
Yes. Hey, Michael, quick one back to school. The illustrious one, Mike Coward's influence on you at Pulteney.
Well, he coached, I reckon, when I was in year 10, and right away, massive difference to our coach from the year before. Mike grew up football and being the journalist that he was and whatever, he knew footy back to front, really. Very passionate. He really pulled us in the side together and was pretty tough on us as well. So he, Pulteney wasn't, very well strong when it compared to the PAC Saints and St Ignatius and those bigger schools, but we held our own a fair bit. And Mike, he pulled a side together from the year before where we were only, just going around to be quite a successful year 10 side.
So moving on with your league career, 82 playing in the premiership side, but a bit of frustration with your groin injury that year, Michael.
Yeah, that I reckon I did that within probably round 4. I cannot remember the doc, but it was quite an injury that happened quite a bit. Now it was a muscle. I don't know if it was torn off. I don't think it was torn off the bone or whatever. But there was a hole there, and I remember. I reckon I was in St Andrews with Roger Merritt was having the same operation as I did, and the guy was well known, the surgeon, which name escapes me after these many years. He did them quite often, and I remember though when he stuck his little finger right up the groin there to find where the little hole was and hit the roof very quickly there, but managed to and although look it did affect you a little bit, it wasn't massively, but it was enough to just annoy you.
And also in 82, mate, obviously played in the state game against Western Australia in Perth. What experience was that like?
Well, we found that we had some very good games against Western Australia. We were pretty evenly matched on that, and big deck, and they. I'm just trying to think. I reckon. No, it wasn't 82 that I got knocked out. I got knocked out by Willie Rioli, I reckon, in one year. I can't remember what year it was. But
that wasn't the game you swapped the Guernseys.
Yes, it was.
Right, yeah, with Andrew. Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think it might have been Bob Hammond coaching back then, and in his wisdom, he thought, look, we'll swap jumpers. I don't think that obviously didn't make a great deal of difference, and spent the night in hospital. I've ripped Rick Davies many years ago when we were at a function together, and he said he'd look after me that day and protect me, and I lasted about 5 minutes.
He protected you for 4 minutes. What's your problem, actually?
Yeah, he gave me nothing, Malcolm.
Yes. Look, while we're jumping around a little bit, look, we can't not mention the 1981 Magarey Medal. I will say personally, my favourite Norwood non-premiership night back at the club with your sister, the late Sue. It was a fantastic, obviously, Aish family night, but a great club night. And, yeah, it's probably the best buy-in Magarey Medal night I've actually been involved with as a supporter, Aish.
Look, it's funny how you just remember little things. And I do remember walking in the club rooms and Perce McCallum, I reckon it was, who was, look, again, I cannot remember what his role was there, but
a bit of everything.
Yeah, he met me at the front there, and then walking in the door. So what are we? We're in 1980, so it's
81.
81. Sorry, so it's third year, and first year, yeah, okay. Second year, I reckon I did the collarbone twice.
Yes.
In about 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden, 81 it just turned out to be one of those years of fit and and was lucky enough to win it. But walking back into the club rooms after that voting at the Old Lion was pretty special, and you certainly look back on it. But these days they take photos, or they do documentaries or whatever. It just would have been nice to sort of have that on tape, so to speak, to really just look back and appreciate how good it was.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Especially also, the tragedy side of it with Sue no longer being with us. It was a special night back at the parade.
Yeah, it certainly was.
Now, Aish, 83, All Australian, best and fairest. Did you consider that your best year?
Well, I thought it was better personally than 81.
We're still looking. I'm still trying to find the missing 20 McGarry medal, the missing McGarry medal votes, mate.
Yeah. Look, I think I was more consistent. That's all, and not really going through any tapes or videos or anything like that. But thought I'd certainly had a more consistent year. And then when everyone writes you up as the favourite, then you start to think you might have a chance here. And then I think I end up coming third in the.
Yeah.
I think I ended up coming third to. I think Kernahan won it by a street, but was
ineligible. Yeah, and Antrobus. Yes.
And Antrobus, and then Bernie Conlon, I think, was runner up from Westies, wasn't he? Or
I reckon that does ring a bell. Might have to Google it in a minute, but yeah.
And he'd had a good year.
I admit, that was my year out with the SNFL umpiring panel, and I may have let my thoughts known that night after the McGarry medal, and I effectively
allowed back now.
I effectively probably ended my chances of umpiring league football that night. So these things happen. So, yes.
Maybe with the Jeff Fennick thing today, that retrospectively award him the 20 votes that are missing. Maybe you never know. You might start a petition.
We'll keep looking for him.
Yep.
Okay, so 84, what a year. We've come from the elimination final. Go for it, Aishi.
Well, yeah, look, I think we won 10 out of our last 11 or 11 out of our last 12, and you're coming into the finals, and I'm pretty sure we played South in the last minor round game, and we beat them quite easily, and then we won, I think, quite easily in the end in the elimination.
Yep.
We were in that third quarter, I think, under a bit of pressure, and then, of course, Central's game. Well, what a game that was!
Similarities to this year's grand final. That we were 3 goals down in the last quarter,
and we were going with a heck of a wind, and I still can see the goal that Peter Lachlan kicked when he just picked the ball off the ground and sort of snapped it. Like it was a little bit of a contortionist. Like he just ripped his leg around.
That's
and
right.
over
Neville dropped the mark. Yep.
Yeah, Neville dropped the mark, and that put us, I think, 11 points in front or 13 points in front. But it, that was a very special game because we were right under the pump till the end. And then, of course, Glenelg, and I've seen a bit of YouTube stuff of late where we've played Glenelg, and Glenelg had plenty of the footy.
At one stage, they were 2 goals 14.
That's right. Now, again, I don't know if, how many were rushed or whatever, but, they missed a lot of goals, and, we just hung in there, and we obviously kicked straighter. And look, I've got to wrap up my mate, number 9 we gave him, hundreds of goals through his career. He reckons he earned every one of them, but, He had the ball out in front of him nearly all day. He didn't have to do much. But, to get Neville over was just fantastic for the footy club. Best guy that I've seen sort of body himself, and when someone's behind him.
Look, I will say this. Neither Neville or Michael are on Facebook. So when something comes on Facebook, I then copy it and email it through to both of them. And then I just sit back, Pete, and I just enjoy the game of tennis with the bullshit back and forth between the two of them.
Absolutely.
The rest of the day. So I get the benefit of that. Hey, Aish, then the tour to Ireland and your friendship with Dermot Brereton.
Yeah, look, we sort of hit it off, Dermot and myself, and Dermot actually got injured and didn't. He actually didn't even play at all. So he had the best trip of all time in '84. But we had, look, he had some great players over there, and I got to know Dermot extremely well. But when you look at the likes of Mark Lee, Danaher, Murray Rance, I reckon it was from Western Australia. Right. Then you had, I reckon Motley and Kernahan and Ross Glendinning and
of course Macca tried to start World War III.
That's what I was going to say.
He did that well, Mac. I still remember it like it was yesterday when Brad Hardy had the ball running down the side, bouncing the ball, and then Mac is throwing haymakers to Jacko or whatever his name was, and
Jack O'Shea, yeah,
Jack O'Shea, and then Brad's just dropped the ball and sprinted back to give him a hand. Macca didn't take too kindly after he got rid of the ball for Big Jack coming in and giving him one. And mind you, the coach, John Todd,
yep.
I have never heard a coach bake a player like I heard John Todd bake Robert Wiley in a game that we drove about 3 or 4 hours to Northern Armagh or something in Ireland, obviously, and we're going across this border or something, and there's guys there with machine guns, and it's all happening. Luckily they weren't shooting them, and I think we had about a 2-course meal or 3-course meal halfway through the bus trip, and went to the ground and got flogged, and then I heard the coach going off, and I don't know what Robert Wiley said or did or whatever, but I'd never ever heard it before in my life. So yes, it was. But the trip itself was great, guys. Just to see Ireland, we won the tests 2-1. A beautiful place to visit, and that'll live with me for a long time. That trip.
Yeah, and it's interesting where Dermot quite often speaks very openly, where he says he regrets he didn't work harder at trying to get you to Hawthorn.
Oh, well, I hadn't heard that, but
yes.
Look at I certainly had the opportunities to go to Richmond and Essendon in particular, and went to Essendon for a little while.
No, I want to go back to Richmond first, actually. The words yellow Salika.
Yeah. Well, that was the day that. Gee whiz, I wish I'd signed that Form 4 in 1981 and not 1980.
Yeah,
instead of getting $4,000, I might have got 40. But I still remember the day going down to pick it up with Dad with John Carl Motors, and on the Saturday morning of a trial against Port in '80, and Jack says, you better not play too well today. I'll get Dave Granger onto you, and Dave. And this was nothing untoward, but I've just caught him out the side of my eye, and the ball's coming to me, so I just didn't brace myself in time, and he's, the big unit I was, that he's just given me a hip and shoulder, and I thought that's a bit sore, and ran over the other side of the ground, and just was waiting for a ball to get shot out with me, and it did, and I just flung my left hand out, and that was it. She was all over, so I went off, and but yeah. So that was in 1980, yeah.
Okay, let's keep going with state footy. So actually, you're 86. You're vice captain of the All Australian team. Then your involvement state footy, state captain. You played in a golden era with South Australia. Go for it on state footy, mate.
Yes, that amazing with pretty well. Cornsey was the state coach for pretty well all my state career, and Jack was probably the last one or two, and but with Motley, Kernahan, Platt, and Bradley, Macca, Neville, Keith, Filkey, the names are endless, and playing at Footy Park, particularly against the Big V, and it was on, and I remember the carnival. I reckon it was. I can't remember what year it was. I reckon Greg Williams he's one that knocked Macca's teeth out. I reckon.
Yes.
Or had a crack at him, and he didn't mind having a bit of that. Greg, yeah, super player.
He was a bit surprised when Macca came back though.
Well, I reckon Scott Salisbury helped him out as well, because Scotty saw it as well. But they would always beat it up with Teddy Whitten and being a part of it, and you're right. We had Tony Hall. There's another one. We had just a super side, and I think it's full credit to Graham as well, because he. Sometimes it'd be a bit of a walk in the park at state trainings, but when Cornsey came on board, it was the toughest training sessions I'd done for most of the time. Even our club sessions, this was tougher. And obviously, Graham's very proud South Australian, and obviously a very, very good player and coach. And he treated it as it should have been. And we were very fortunate to. Well, I'm pretty sure we won, at least 70% of the time when we played against the Big V.
No, great record, and it was the Tuesday night. Those state games were just it was a do not miss. It was wanted ticket. It was they were the big. That was the big nights. And just the atmosphere was fantastic.
I tell you, the '89, I reckon it was, where we played.
Well, we got thumped.
Oh well, it was heavy ground. It'd been shocking weather, and I remember trying to cut off a ball up in the forward line for Victoria, and I reckon the Victorian forward line was Ablett, Lyon, I think Dunstall,
the game in Victoria,
Dunstall. And what's the name?
Lockett played as well. Yeah.
Lockett. Well, Lockett was on the lead coming out, and I'm thinking, well, I'm here. I've got to cut him off, and I've run across, and I'm thinking, I'm dead. I'm dead here, and he luckily got nowhere near me, because I'm thinking, oh, good night, nurse. I know that he doesn't mind hurting blokes, but that was disappointing. And I reckon. Was that when I reckon Teddy Whitten was?
Yeah, that was the lap.
Was dying, wasn't he? And with
Teddy
prostate
Whitten
cancer
lap. And look, and let's keep going on that, Michael. You've had your own prostate. I did have that listed for later, but it's appropriate now that you've had your own battle with that, and it is a reminder for blokes. We do think we're invincible. We don't, attend to our health as much as the ladies do, and go for it on that regard, Michael.
Yeah, look, I was very fortunate to. Now, Malcolm, you'd be able to tell me who the twins were that played for Norwood, and one went on Big Brother, and the other one played for North Melbourne. Come on, Malcolm.
The Tanners? No.
Who? No.
Front one, twins.
No, and their father was a doctor. Anyway, that's your research. You better find.
Yep. Sorry.
But his dad. I was going down to see my daughter. Was working at Footy Park, and I went to this doctor, and he grabbed my my notes, and then I was going down to see him for something, and he said, "You had your prostate checked for a while," and I hadn't. It was probably 2 years, and he did the old fetal position, and had a bit of a feel around, and he said, "Do I know a urologist?" And I said, "Well, Adrian Porter, ex-Nord champion doctor," and went to see him, and did the biopsy, and it came positive, and then you think, well, what am I going to do? Do I get it out? Do I monitor it? And my philosophy was, well, what's going to stop it from getting out? So do I get it out now, or do I monitor it? So I ended up getting it out. I was very lucky that I was obviously fit at the time, and recovered pretty well. I had open surgery. I didn't have robotic, because the surgeon that I was recommended to, obviously by Adrian, who was sensational, and he also put me onto if I wanted to go and see someone else, and I went and saw someone else who did this brachytherapy, so it was another sort of treatment, but where they put radioactive seeds around the prostate and then they zap it, and unfortunately I couldn't have that, so it was just went back to the doctor that Adrian recommended, and everything went well there, and I was fortunate enough that it hadn't escaped, so it was all contained, and yes, I'm all good.
Mate, in 19, I mean it's very important for everyone to get those checkups, and I'm sure you're an advocate for it with whoever you talk to these days to make that happen.
No question. Look, it's you just got to do it. It's silly not to. It's not that difficult. Obviously, it changes the way they test and treat it these days. And back in my day, where they did the biopsy, was a little. I didn't actually get put under, and sometimes you can get an infection and those sort of things. But the research and the technology they use now to do that is significantly better. But I just couldn't understand why you wouldn't go in and get your blood tests anyway. And there's one thing they can tell by the blood. I think it's as simple as that, and keep an eye on that. And then the levels, and if they start to shoot up, then they just monitor it, and you just got to get it early, because as we know, most things, particularly in prostate, if you leave that too long and that gets out, you can be in all sorts of strife.
Mate, very important message for sure. 1987, mate, you get to captain the great Norwood Footy Club.
Yeah, look, I reckon I was captain, I don't know, for 3 years, and we made 3 prelims in a row, I reckon it was, and lost them all, and that was disappointing. But to captain the footy club, and look, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't the best captain. I think I was just more concerned about what you do on the field to not necessarily what you do off it, and getting around the players and making sure they're okay in that. So I sort of thought we lead by example on the field, but we had some opportunities, and unfortunately didn't take them, but that just goes with the territory sometimes, and we fronted up. I think we might have lost at least 2 of those prelims to North maybe. I know one of them. Yeah, but it wasn't to be, and I think you got to make the best of the situation, and we didn't.
And mate, in 88, you play your 200th game, which qualifies you for life membership at the Norwood Footy Club. Again, what does that mean, mate?
Yeah, look, I guess that I am just so, I think, what's the right word? I am humbled to think that I was lucky enough to play at the Norwood Footy Club for as long as I did, and so proud to do that, to follow in my father's footsteps, who played for 10 years and captained the footy club. And look, and even today, the biggest kick that I get is watching the guys go round and what they achieve, and hopefully achieve the ultimate, which they obviously did this year. It brings me great joy to see that.
Let's just say Michael's a nervous watcher of football, and that thanks to Jeff Wilson being in the Cooper's box for you, it actually helps. It helps you, Aish. You're getting a bit of medicinal purposes into the body at games does help you, mate.
There's no question about that, Malcolm. It's just that it's just the level of the intake, and I'm sensible enough. But look, I'm not a good watcher. I've never been a good watcher of footy, particularly the Norwood Footy Club, and but I will support that till the day I die. And it certainly look, it's very enjoyable to go, and I don't mind telling you either what the Norwood Footy Club are doing with their facilities, with the club, and then the
Museum to come.
signage.
Yep.
Yeah, the museum, and now they're putting new light towers up there, which I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "What's going on?" And these light towers are, I'll stand corrected, are as good as Adelaide Oval or
Yes,
something like that.
correct.
Which is, and again, I'm being biased, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Norwood Football Club is the best suburban oval in Adelaide by a mile.
Yeah, obviously we are biased, but yeah, I've always thought that anyway. And yeah, they're talking about this AFL Magic Round. Well, if there's going to be a game scheduled at at a suburban venue, surely it's got to be at Norwood.
Oh, yes, you would think so. And like you get anywhere 5,000 plus there, and the atmosphere is like 20,000 somewhere else, with everyone on top of it, and so let's hope that eventuates.
Very much so. Now, quick humour one that by pure fluke, Pete, I've walked into the Feathers on a Friday night, and happened to run into Pam Michael's definitely better half, and
Yes.
Pam Stowe's night, and so I thought, blow this, I'll stay around. 30-odd females,
Good chance.
yeah, better strike rate than normal. Of course, it was still the obvious Court Marsh Bowl Lily no score, but yes, Pam actually did think that was quite funny in the night and said, yeah, stay around, Malcolm, at least you're livening things up.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you would, Malcolm, and I don't know if she'd do. Oh, she might remember.
No, we spoke about that at the Hall of Fame night. Yes.
Yes, she did. She did remember it well.
Yes.
Well, she hasn't been knocked around the head like me, Malk. So
that's true. No, the Hall of Fame. Let's quickly go on that Hall of Fame being chosen as a legend, one of the 5 legends of Norwood Footy Club. It was certainly a lot easier to organise a Aish family photo that night than the McIntosh clan, but I did get there on both. Go through that, Michael. How much that meant?
Yeah, look, again, I find it difficult to really talk about that, Malcolm, because it is certainly an honour to be thought of in that way, and I am absolutely humbled by it. I have an absolute passion for the Norwood Footy Club that will never leave me till the day I die. I love the place, and as I said, I was fortunate enough to play there, and then with my brother, and then obviously Jesse, and then Andrew's lad, James, and then Joel. I've played a few reserves games and things like that, and look, to be elevated to that status is lovely. But I said it once, I've said it probably 10 or 15 times, is I don't see myself as a legend compared to some of these volunteers that have been, on staff, or not on staff, but volunteering for 30 years and that sort of things. And, like the trainers, and, like Big Al, and then there was Al and Mal and Reggie, and all those trainers, Brian, those Smokey that, Bandit, man, they're the legends of the footy club. Honestly, we're there for 5 minutes. They're there for 50 years. It's a little bit different. Like we sort of get the glory and whatever, but those guys, they deserve everything they get because they're the real stalwarts. And it's like those supporters that, still go to the footy, when I go and I see those that are still supporting it when I was running around. So it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah. Everybody's part of the fabric, and that's what makes the club the club.
And for mine, it's still, at AFL level, they're multi-million-dollar corporations where, sorry, I'm speaking tonight to a Norwood past legend, give you a ring quite often, Mike, and all that. There's always contact and all that. Now, to me, being part of that is, give me Norwood any day over the AFL. That's how I've always felt along those lines, personally.
Yeah, look, I think it's like any club, though, that some guys don't feel that I don't know what it is. But look, I tell you that the reunions that we have, and we had the '82 reunion this year, and I think it was the best one we had for a lot of years, where instead of sitting down around tables now and you don't really mix, they just have stand-ups, a few little tables and a few platters and all that. But actually, you get around, and the club did a great job on getting a lot of players that hadn't been back for a while, and to see those guys after so many years, it's fantastic. And I think that just being able to reminisce, and obviously on not only on the wins that we've had, but just to see some of these guys that you hadn't seen for a while, it's fantastic because for 15 years or 10 years of your life, you're in these people's pockets, and some you were quite close to, and some not so close. But I don't know how too many that didn't get along with anyone, and as a team, and that those bonds, they last forever.
Michael, on you, still just quick one back on the footy. Being tagged, one of the first players to be being tagged, and I think mutual respect with you and Trevor Rowe from Centrals. I don't think you swapped Christmas cards with John Harvey, but yeah, just that side of footy, mate.
Yeah, look, that was Trevor was very good, very disciplined, very fit. He probably had a better technique running than I did, but as I said, very disciplined and in the way he went about it, and so. Yeah, look, I think that he probably nutted me more times than I would have liked, but and then yeah, look, I can't remember. There was one from Torrens as well, obviously John Harvey from Port, and then playing in that close tagging. Now I don't mind that if they do it fairly, but when they scrag and don't have to hold you for 2 seconds, and then you stop from getting the ball on that. It's quite frustrating, but maybe I didn't deal with it as well as I could, and Barney threw us around a fair bit, and sometimes changed us at full forward and rested it at full forward rather than a half forward flank, and left it 1-on-1, which I thought I had a reasonable strength when playing on 1-on-1. So it was, it was frustrating. It certainly was frustrating when that close tag came involved. But I guess in essence as well, it's what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a bit of a feather in the cap to say, well, they got to stop him, so they got to pay him more attention. So,
and in '84, did you feel like the umpires sort of got it right? Well, obviously you did, but they were really keeping a close eye on your Port.
If John Harvey and Hilton had paid, and Harvey and Argent had played every free kick Aish should have got in that '84 grand final, we'd still be at Footy Park and they'd still be blowing the whistle.
Well, I think you're a little bit biased there, Malcolm, but
just a tad, actually.
Yeah, look, it happens, and that was one of the best games that playing, as we said, came fifth, and just a little bit unfortunate in the first 10 seconds. Cop one, which I wasn't too fond of, so I squared up a year later.
Yes, I reckon you might have finished in front on that one too.
Yeah, you might have.
Yes.
Yeah, I reckon I have.
Quick, serious one, because it is a big thing going on at the moment. Concussion. KT's involved in it. Sean Tasker's involved in it behind the scenes and that as well. Thoughts there, Michael? And my understanding is that we're waiting for clarification, all that, but players will be missing more than one game like they do at the moment. So, yeah, thoughts concussion-wise, because you have had, the night with probably the most famous one was Ray Huppert's in '82 where, go for it.
Yeah, look, Keith Thomas and myself went over about 6 weeks ago and got tested, and I'm still trying to work out, exactly what the report said. But, it is a bit of a worry, particularly my short-term memory, I think, is a bit how you're going. But, I think I'm not too bad at all when it comes to, I don't have headaches, and I don't have any sort of lapses, or for want of a better word, blackouts or whatever. So I'm pretty fortunate with that. I think that I think it it's going to be interesting because I've spoken to Keith and he's shown me the results of all the testing he's been doing and whatever, and it is frightening, to be honest with you. Not and you might not even be knocked out. You just might get a good hip and shoulder, and you still can have face some challenges. If you get hit and just knocked around a little bit without being knocked out, or even your head being knocked. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I tell you what does worry me a little bit is in the women's football. It happening to them, and I'm all for. I think it's great that they're playing footy. I just and I've seen some of the more recent games, and there's some fair intensity about them, and hopefully they just learn very quickly, which I'm sure they will, because the standard is certainly getting massively better. That they protect themselves and they can look after themselves, so they can get through unscathed.
I think it's gradually improving. Robbie Newell's pretty heavily involved in the junior state side of it, and that the now girls is playing at the younger age. They're going to learn to protect themselves straight away. What you did as a kid. Where I think that's been the real problem is that basically they've started playing as adults and have just left themselves wide open. You watch sometimes, and I was involved with the AFLW. While I'm a Norwood person, I was employed by the AFL at the home games there. And you did. You cringe and you were nervous watching because they just didn't instinctively turn to protect themselves.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I saw that injury this year, I think, to a Western Bulldogs player. Now, that wasn't a concussion as such, but it was a kick or a broken leg and the like. And in fact, I reckon it was a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember who it was, but one of the girls for Essendon, I reckon it was, playing Port, and she landed on her head in a tackle, and it wasn't. I think she was actually caught by one arm, and then of course, and it wasn't anything malicious about the tackle, but she just landed on top of her head. And I thought actually she was in a world of trouble. I thought the way that she just landed on her head, and I thought, this could be very dangerous, but thank goodness that it wasn't. But
bizarrely with that, the Port players got suspended for 2 games. Now, I've watched that numerous times, and I'm thinking she's actually just grabbed the hand. It's actually technically
she got pinged for 2 games.
Yeah, she got 2 games suspension for that, and I'm just still. I've watched that numerous times, thinking how in the hell they came to that fine, because that was just a footy accident. I'd
like to look at it a bit more closely, but I'm a bit the same, Malcolm. I look at some of these reports, and I'm even thinking back, and look, I'll stand corrected, but I reckon Patrick Dangerfield tackled someone perfectly, and the momentum was going forward. So just they were going forward. So of course he was behind, driven the particular player into the ground. Had tackled, I think, a fair tackle, and then I reckon it cost him a Brownlow.
Yes,
and I think,
bizarre.
I just don't understand a lot of it these days. But anyway,
one quick last one. Getting towards that Australian Sports Medal, Aish. I blatantly admit I've only read that today. I can't remember. Go for that.
See, now you're testing it, Malcolm. I reckon, I don't know how many years ago, but got an Australian Sports Medal for, the footy career, and that was certainly an honour. And I remember when we moved house, we just moved about 15 months ago, but when we moved up to St George's, and they had a cabinet there they didn't want to take, so we bought it off them, and proudly put that in there along with some other mementos, and it's always nice to be recognised, I guess, as a good footy player in this respect. But my folks brought me up to I loved actually Ashley Barty's. Now, if I'm not going to get this, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this correct, but I reckon her quote about 6 or 12 months ago said she'd rather be known as a great person than a great tennis player. And I thought that is perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty. That nails
Sounds
it,
about
really,
right,
doesn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
You know, because that's what it's all about. You know, it's about the person, not okay. What he or she does, and what she or he manages to attain to, or I'm not getting the right word there, but you know, like again, I think that you know, it's who you are as a person and what you can do, you know, for someone else. And I think we, you know, just make other people's lives better off. That's certainly what it's all about.
Oh, Michael, you get that big time. Look, anytime there was a thing you needed something for charity, whatever, give Aish a ring. Like there was the night up at Hope Valley with that youngster
Yeah.
a few years ago. You know, I get a phone call from Mark Robinson. Can you organise a Norwood person? Ring you, all organised within 5 minutes. You go and visit the kid next day in hospital as well off your own steam. And the boy's going okay too, Michael.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Which is great news because it
Yeah.
certainly didn't appear that it was going to be the case back then. And yeah, look, I'd really jacks me off that sort of thing because Barry Robber and Russell Ebert, just incredible in that regard as well. And it just should get far more publicity. Anytime a player does something wrong, it comes out big time. Well, how about a bit of publicity on how many things is done right as well?
Yeah. Well,
I feel
again,
really strongly on that.
and we all look again. You know, hopefully, well, we all make good and bad decisions, and sometimes we make some bad ones, but hopefully we learn from them, and then, you know, go on to rectify those, and just be the person that you know. I think that it's well. I remember reading a book, Malcolm, many years ago, and it was called The Purpose-Driven Life, and it was actually when I was actually going through, you know, nearly a marriage breakup, and I read this book, and the first paragraph of the first chapter was, and it said, "Life's not about you," and I'm thinking, you know what, that struck me, and I thought, you know, yes, life was about me for a lot of years, and I was selfish, and I just wanted to do this and do that, and then it may have crept in. This is on the footy field, and then it creeps into your own life and your own marriage and those sort of things, and then you probably don't act like you should, and you know, sometimes you keep your feet on. Sometimes you think your feet are on the ground, and they're that far off it, it's not funny. But you know, you live and learn, and hopefully mature, you know, sooner rather than later, and you know, just do good and be good.
Mate, we'll get you out of here on this one. Obviously, the Crows come in 1990. I must admit, sitting behind the goals at the southern end at the parade, watching yourself and Macca ply your trade for the Norwood Footy Club. You know, it would have been nice to see you for the Crows as well, mate.
I can tell you, I don't know if many people know this, but I can tell you that the day the Crows were formed, or the day, and then their first training session, you know, at Footy Park, I drove there and just, you know, went behind a pillar somewhere and just watched them train for 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, now I was pretty cooked, so I don't think they made a right decision.
No, I disagree with you there, Aish. I'll go to bat on that one. There were one thing about the only decent concession the Crows had with their first year, because their concessions overall are the worst by any side by a long way, but they had 52 players. Now, I'll go as far, yeah, of course your body wasn't going to get you through the whole year, but I'll say if Michael Aish had been picked, who knows whether that would have been the extra game to get the Crows in the finals.
Well, you know, I know you're biased, Malcolm,
Yes,
but
I feel strongly on that one too, Michael.
It would have been nice. It would have been nice. Then, look, I had the opportunities, obviously, you know, to go to the VFL at that stage, but it wasn't to be. And you know, the Crows were formed, and you know, history says that. Well, it just shows that you know, they've become a very powerful club. They're in a bit of the doldrums at the moment, but hopefully they'll bounce back. And they've got a change of leadership there. I think their coach is Matty Nixon, and I don't know Matty at all, but seems to be a wonderful guy, and I think the players love him. So hopefully they'll get some success shortly.
Unfortunately, obviously, your career gets a little bit cut short through some injuries in your final year, limiting you to a few games for the year, but you're certainly a fantastic servant for the Norwood Footy Club to reach 300 games as well, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, look, I can actually remember that. Neil Craig was, and I sort of, a valuable lesson learned. I'm thinking, do I go on? Do I not go on? And I sort of didn't do enough of the training because I was doing all pool work at that stage and didn't do enough training before the pre-season. And then Scotty Burns accidentally knocks into my knee and does a second or third degree tear and puts me back. And then, I'm way behind in fitness, and then, try to play and the knees are giving me a bit of trouble. And I reckon I end up playing 3 games, and for the first time in my career, I started on the bench, and I'm sitting on the bench not knowing whether to fold the arms, sit back, cross the legs, or what do you do there? Do you go to sleep, or just get ready to have a run? So yeah, a bit of a disappointing, but a learning curve certainly for me or for anyone that's listening is that particularly when you're getting on, never cut corners.
Now, Michael, I'm glad I've just remembered. Question from Chris Adico, our listener for Ovis. Did you originally hurt your back driving from the top tower at the City Pool?
No, look, I don't think so. I remember doing a underwater hockey promo there with, I reckon it was Paul Weston and might have been Rick Davies, and we had a crack jumping off there. But to be honest with you, I honestly think it was in my leisure times. I bought a speedboat with a mate, and we used to go up the Murray quite a bit and ski, and I did a massive amount of kneeboarding, and we'd kneeboard and then we'd jump someone, and you get that continued pound. Look, it might not have been that, I don't know, but I think it might have been that, to be honest with you. And that's certainly one of the regrets. I think that if I knew exactly what it was, then obviously a bit easier to sort of, put together. But to hit about 1984 onwards, and then pretty well spend most of the time just all the pre-season in the pool, and then going out to do all the ball work. So a little bit frustrating, but the back issue certainly, hung around pretty well from 84 till 92. So it was a bit of a pain.
Now, Pete, there was one, last couple of quick things, but a couple of things to stir Aish up about. There was one year, we think it's 83, either way, Michael worked his absolute backside off pre-season doing weights, trying to put on weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we're at Lifestyle, and when Neville and Hooksy were running it, and there's a weigh-in for Aish to see how much weight he's put on. He has got on, and he's actually lost weight. I reckon the dummy landed about Gawler that night, Aish. It was hilarious.
Well, listen, Matt, I've sort of had a look at a couple of the highlights, and look, there was a little bit more definition. I think the bicep grew by about 0.5 of a mil, and I started having not quite like Arnold, but certainly there wasn't one of my greatest strengths, the weightlifting and spending a lot of time in the weights room.
And of course, those Sterling Cup games, weren't they? A couple of fantastic nights away. What goes on tour will stay on tour, but Aish does speak fluent Chinese as well. They were great nights, Michael.
Yes, they were very, very fond memories, Malcolm.
Yes, we probably don't go too much more on that one.
We'll leave that one.
Yes, I think we might just cut it off there because we could get in a bit of trouble. But Michael, thank you very much for joining us tonight and giving us a bit of an insight into your wonderful career at the Norwood Footy Club. And we've enjoyed having you on the show as part of our Past Legends series and our 5 Good Minutes in the Clubhouse, and it's been a true treat.
We take that 5 minutes very literally, yes. Michael. Yes. Greatly appreciated, Aish.
Thanks, gents. Always happy to talk about my beloved Redlegs.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, mate.
See you guys.
Liking this podcast? Please like, rate, and subscribe.